Most auto raceways have a straightaway. The Charlotte Motor Speedway boasts the only dogleg straight among this country's super tracks. Despite the extra bends, it is the fastest mile-and-a-half track in the world. Today on ABC's Wide World of Sports, we will be seeing the nation's top racing drivers in action on this demanding course in the National 500 stock car race. There are 44 cars in line on the pit lane at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, getting ready for the start of the National 500 stock car race, one of the nation's most important sports events. I'm Chris Economaki here at Charlotte, and this major race has a purse fund of well over $100,000. In addition to the battle for the #1 position at the finish, is a battle for the national championship between Bobby Isaac, the driver of this Dodge, number 71, and David Pearson, whose car is in the front row. The great drivers in the sport of stock car racing are here at Charlotte for this event, which has been delayed 1 week by rain. The rain has scrubbed all the rubber off the track, and it's an unknown quantity as these drivers take off. Here's Richard Petty's Plymouth and Cale Yarborough's Mercury. Bobby Allison, a young star, is in this particular machine here. On my left, the number 14 Plymouth, and Buddy Baker, twice winner here at Charlotte, will be driving a number 3. And then the pole sitter, Charlie Glotzbach, car number 6, and David Pearson in the number 17 Ford. And here, working with us today, retired racing great Fred Lorenzen. Fred, you watch practice and qualifying closely. How does it look to you?
Well, Chris, Cale is going to be one of the big men here today, I think. He's been the big superstar all year, won a lot of super speedway races, broke all the records, and I think maybe a dark horse here could be Bobby Allison. He had one of the fastest laps the last day of practice, so I look for either one of the Yarboroughs or one of the Allison brothers.
A cool day here at Charlotte and a great day for racing. Last Sunday, the fans all went home disappointed when the race was rained out. And after a full week of rain here in the heart of North Carolina, today has dawned truly beautiful, and a good crowd is on hand at this modern race facility. In contrast, just behind the grandstand is the oldest house in the state, built during Revolutionary times. It's now the track office, and legend has George Washington making an early pit stop there. The top drivers from NASCAR, along with USAC champion A.J. Foyt, are here. Stock car racing is the biggest sporting attraction in the South and has produced the most talented men the sport has known. We hopped around the pits earlier to chat with them about today's race. Cale, you've set a record for money won, and you've set a record for the number of super speedway victories this year. What motivates you for the National 500?
Well, Chris, we've won 4 super speedway races this year, and nobody's ever won over 3, and we sure would like to make it 5 to set a record that would really be hard to break.
Charlie, you're sitting in the #1 position, the pole position, and in the past, you've had a bit of trouble holding that spot in the first turn. Are you going to change your techniques any today?
Well, I don't believe I will today because the track is green. It's washed all the rubber off, and I'm really not interested in leading it the first lap. The last one's the one I want to lead it today.
Is the 500 today something you can plan, or is it just got to be a foot-to-the-floor proposition?
Well, you always plan these races after they drop the flag. You can't pre-plan them and run it as you'd like to. You usually just play it by ear.
What has the week-long range done to the track, Paul? What difference will it make in the race?
Well, it'll make the track quite fast, Chris, and we'll wear tires, and they'll also run a little bit hotter for probably 50 miles, 75 mile. And then the track will start slowing down just a little from the rubber and the oil that we will leave on the track. But these first few laps, Chris, are going to be quite fast. It's going to be a terrific race here for the first 50 miles.
Now the drivers are getting into their cars. There's pole sitter Charlie Glotzbach. He's driving the Cotton Owens Dodge. There's David Pearson, the front runner for the national championship, starting in the front row. Buddy Baker, who's won the last 2 races here. Freddie Lorenzen's pick, Bobby Allison in the number 14 car. And there's Yarborough, the year's superstar, getting into the Wood Brothers, perhaps one of the most famous pit crews in all auto racing history, their Mercury number 21. And Richard Petty always drives a blue number 43 and a Plymouth, one of the more popular drivers on the circuit. Here's Bobby Isaac, who's shooting for the championship and hopes to outrace David Pearson today. There's a signal to move out. Chief Steward Johnny Bruner sends the front row. Glotzbach in number 6 and Pearson in number 17 down pit lane and out onto the track. It's Baker and Allison in the second row. Yarborough and Petty make up the third row. There's Mario Rossi, Darrell Derringer's crew chief, taking the hood cover off. They fired the engines up earlier, and it is a cool day. They try to keep the engines warm. USAC stock car champion A.J. Foyt is in car number 11. He's starting back in 25th position. He has not had as much as one lap in the car. He's a replacement driver. Because of the rain out, he became available for the race, and he's come here, and he's operating under quite a handicap. Here he is, that number 11 car now, deep in the field, back in 25th position, and he's got a tough row to hoe in this 334-lap race. We'll be back for the start of the National 500 in just a moment. And here comes the field down for the starting flag. 334 laps to go. Charlie Glotzbach, number 6 on the pole. David Pearson, number 17 outside. Richard Petty in the third row. Pulls wide to find racing room, and they're off and running. Down towards the first turn in the battle to see who will lead the first lap. Pearson high on the track, races Glotzbach through the corner. Inches just a little bit ahead as they head towards the back straightaway, but Glotzbach's not lifting one bit, and the Ford-Dodge battle continues down the back straightaway. Buddy Baker's in third place and making it a three-way battle here. And Glotzbach has the edge now on the low side as Pearson goes high in the Ford. Around they go, and they're really running hard. Into the main straightaway now. It's still side-by-side action. Fred, why such furious action with 500 miles to go?
Well, I think that they're just trying to break away from the pack, or else they just are so excited. Their cars are handling so well that it just seems like an easy pace for them.
Well, Glotzbach has made it now past Pearson. Baker's in third, and Petty is fourth now. And Charlie Glotzbach, the pole sitter from Georgetown, Indiana, a sophomore driver on the NASCAR circuit, is setting the early pace in the National 500. Pearson now about 4 or 5 car lengths behind. Glotzbach's car is owned by a former driver, Cotton Owens, who appeared on the early Wide World of Sports when we first started covering stock car races. He hasn't ever won a big one on any super speedway, and he, of course, has got his fingers crossed at this early point in the contest. Now, moving into third place is Buddy Baker in the number 3 Dodge. Richard Petty is fourth in the Plymouth. They're the top 4 positions here as Pearson once again comes up to challenge Glotzbach for the number 1 position, this time on the inside. And he goes by. He has a short way to go into the turn, and it's Pearson, the new leader, passing Glotzbach. And Glotzbach's back end drifts a little bit wide in the turn. Baker a close third. Now Allison has moved up to 4th place behind Petty. Still close going, awfully close, coming down the main straightaway here. Glotzbach tries the inside as Petty closes, and the rest of the field seems to gain on the leaders. A very fast pace here in the early laps of this 500-mile stock car race. Pearson, a former champion, down the straightaway. Pearson's the leader. Baker now, a close third, is starting to worry Glotzbach in the number 2 position. Here the top 3, 4 and 5 side by side, 2 Plymouth drivers. Allison on the inside, and Petty and number 43 on the top. And here, look at how close they are. Well, they really are close, the 2 leaders, Pearson and Glotzbach. And let's take another look at that in stop action. Why so close, Freddie?
Well, there's quite a turbulence thrown off the forward car into the front of the back car, and it seems that the closer you ride, you break that turbulence up and it doesn't throw your car around as much.
So it's a smoother ride that Charlie Glotzbach is seeking. So close behind leader David Pearson as Buddy Baker worries him a little bit in the number 3 spot. A close race here for the front in the early laps of this National 500. And Leroy Yarbrough, number 98, who started 13th, the fastest qualifier, has really moved up in this contest and is just in the second echelon there, trying to move in on the leading trio. Now they're going past the slower cars, taking the high side of the track, and Glotzbach is not letting David Pearson pull away by any stretch of the imagination. In 4th place now is Bobby Allison in the number 14 Plymouth as the positions behind the 3 leaders are shuffled around back and forth in this heavy traffic going. Pearson still continues to set the pace. They're averaging almost 157 miles an hour here at the top of this race, despite the traffic they're going through, and that's a remarkable speed as Glotzbach now wants the number 1 position back and zooms right by Pearson into the lead once again. A fine automobile race we're seeing here, and the big crowd on hand today just loves it. Now, Buddy Baker is right behind David Pearson as Glotzbach is moved out front once again. Now Baker tries for second on the outside. Goes by Pearson to move into the number 2 position. And there's Pearson falling prey to Bobby Allison. There's your boy Freddie on the high side doing a nice job. And now Baker comes up. 2 Dodges in the number 1 and 2 positions. And Baker challenges Glotzbach on the high side. Boy, Freddie, you have to have a lot of respect for the fellow alongside to run this close, don't you?
That's sure true, Chris, but it is the early stages of the race, and the track is quite green, and they're getting an awful good bite. They're not sliding around at all right now, Chris.
They can put the car wherever they want, and Buddy Baker's out in front now, and Bobby Allison follows them through for 2nd place, and we'll be back for more of the National 500 in just a minute. Buddy Baker, a second-generation speed star who lives right here in Charlotte, North Carolina, setting the pace now with Bobby Allison, an Alabama driver, in second place, and early leader Charlie Glotzback a close third, trying right now for the number 2 position. Leroy Yarborough has come up remarkably fast from his 13th starting position, while David Pearson has faded way back. Pearson was the front runner a while ago. Now he's back in 7th or 8th place in this heavy traffic. There's Allison challenging Baker with Glotzback right down. Allison had the lead for just a moment there, but Baker comes back strong in that Dodge to move into the number 1 spot. A Plymouth Dodge battle for the number 1 position in heavy traffic here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. This has been one of the fastest 500-mile starts we've seen. The pace well over 150 miles an hour, up the high 55s and 56s when they have a clear track. Now coming up on the slower cars, and Baker goes to the high side to get around the traffic as Allison follows close behind. Down low in the turns when there's room to go low. Glotzback staying right in there. Allison very close as they come off the turn. Whoops, and look at Baker's car dido.
He sure did get a little bit sideways there. I think it's mainly caused from the turbulence from the rear car moving a little bit too quickly, but his back end has seemed to be a little bit loose in traffic.
Well, the suspension setting is important on these stock car races. Now, Glotzback has moved past Allison to take second place and once again challenge Baker in the number 1 position. Boy, there again, he's very close, and he cuts down, missing the left rear corner of the car by inches, and the maneuver worked beautifully. He cut across and then across the track to the top side. Boy, oh boy, what a drive this Charlie Glotzback is giving us today. And the fans really come to their feet when the maneuver like that takes place on the racetrack. So Glotzback, once again, out in front here in this National 500 stock car race. He's been in and out of the lead ever since the start. Cale Yarborough has faded a little bit. He started 5th, and he's back down the line. And that's quite a surprise for a hard charger like Cale Yarborough. Incidentally, it's no relation to Leroy Yarborough. They're not up. Baker's in trouble. There's the right front corner of the car, and he hits the rail. And he bangs it again, and again, and again. And it's a tough break for big Buddy Baker. He's obviously out of it. The yellow flag comes out. Freddie, what do you think happened?
Well, it's hard to say, Chris. He must have run over something. It's too early in the race for him to have worn out a tire. He must have run over a piece of steel on the racetrack and cut that tire.
Well, there's Buddy getting out of the car. A flat right front tire, a sudden flat, sent him into the wall after a fine drive. And the yellow flag is out. The safety car will be out on the track. And Buddy, the biggest driver in the field at about 6'5" and about 260, sprints across the track, and his father runs up to find out if he's okay. Now, Leroy Yarborough has come into the pits at number 98. He's got trouble. What do you think that is, Fred?
It must be something wrong with the right front hub. I see smoke coming out, and we have just been informed that it is a wheel bearing.
Well, there's Herb Nabb, the chief mechanic, and we'll be back for more of the National 500 after this message. David Pearson, number 17, emerged the leader after everyone had made a pit stop during the yellow flag to get Buddy Baker's car off the track, but now he's being challenged by the Allison brothers. First Donnie in number 27, and then Bobby in number 14. They're running 1-2, and Pearson is now back in 3rd place. During that yellow flag period, USAC visitor Butch Hartman led the race for a few laps in number 75, but now the green is out and the race is once again going on full tilt, and Donnie Allison is the leader in car number 27. He did a good job getting up there, Fred.
He sure did. He was back in about 10 spots just sitting there, but under the caution, he had a fantastic pit stop, and it moved him all the way up to the front of the line.
Well, he's not first anymore because Brother Bobby's out front of this great brother act here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's Big Brother leading Kid Brother with David Pearson in 3rd place as they put a lap on Bobby Johns in the number 7 Chevelle. The Miami driver is having mechanical trouble as the car smokes there. Paul Goldsmith is 4th in car number 99. Charlie Glotzback is 5th in number 6. Richard Petty is 7th. Rookie Pete Hamilton in number 1 is 8th. Darrell Derringer 9th. And A.J. Foyt has moved into the top 10 in car number 11. Now here's a dejected Leroy Yarborough.
All right, what's taking you out of the race? Well, the first 15 laps of the race, we lost a wheel bearing and replaced it. I went back out and run about another 15 or 20 laps, but we decided to just pull it in.
In other words, you were so far behind?
Well, we was 10 or 12 laps behind, and we just didn't want to take a chance on the car.
Leroy Yarborough, one of the favorites, out of it. And the pace continues very high. Donnie Allison, the leader now. Paul Goldsmith, the number 99, has moved into second place. And oops, Dick Johnson, the West Coaster, hits the top rail in number 18 and skids down and stops just short of the fence, protecting the crowd. A close call for not only Dick, but for the spectators as well. And once again, the yellow flag comes out as the Californian gets his car restarted and heads for the pits and hopes to repair whatever damage there may be, so he can continue in this rich race. More than $100,000 in prize money up, and everybody gets a piece of it. And now the traffic in pit lane is going to develop, because once the yellow flag comes out in these long-distance races, everyone takes advantage of it. Here's Donnie Allison and Banjo Matthews, number 27, coming in. David Pearson and the Holman and Moody, number 17. And boy, don't these pit men know how to go to work when the opportunity presents itself. Right side tires on both of these Ford cars being changed by the pit crews. Rapid fire work. There goes Pearson back into the action. And Paul Goldsmith spins his car to miss hitting a crewman. He's on the grass version. This is going to be a costly maneuver, because it's going to delay his re-entry to the track by some 10 or 15 seconds as he gets straightened out and goes down the pit lane. A tough break for Goldsmith, who moments ago was in second place on the track. Yellow flag is still out. And here is Bobby Allison in the pits in the Tom Friedkin Plymouth. Chief mechanic Bill Ellis and his boys go to work, and they're changing the inside tires this time on the car rather than the outside tires, as the yellow flag continues to wave over this 1.5-mile track. Remember, there is no passing allowed while the yellow flag is out. And now, Cale Yarborough, number 21, there's a stalled car at the end of pit lane, and Bobby Allison's in trouble in number 14. Boy, we've got more action in pit lane here than we have on the racetrack during this yellow period. Chris Economaki, along with Fred Lorenzen, back at the Charlotte Motor Speedway in North Carolina. And the National 500 has some 200 laps to go, as Donnie Allison at number 27 and David Pearson at number 17, two Ford drivers, battle for the lead. But little Bud Moore, Buddy Baker, Leroy Yarborough, James Hilton, and A.J. Foyt's cars are out of the race at this point. But the action for the lead is fast and furious, as evidenced here as Pearson goes up high to move in front, as Donnie Allison drops now to second place as they lap John Sears in the number 4 car. Third place belongs to Paul Goldsmith in the number 99 Dodge, and fourth is Pete Hamilton, a rookie, driving car number 1. There you see the third and fourth place men. And it just moved ahead of Donnie Allison in number 27, and Cale Yarborough comes in now too. Allison is fading in the number 27 car, and Cale Yarborough, who was away back a bit earlier, has come back strong in the number 21 Mercury. Charlie Glotzbach in car 6, a Dodge who sat on the pole at the start, is among the leaders. There's Pearson and Goldsmith now, the 1 and 2 runners here on this 1.5-mile high bank speedway in North Carolina. Cale Yarborough in number 21 is back there in third place now. With the standings really shuffling, here's Richard Petty, one of the favorites in the contest, at number 43, coming to the pits. We haven't had a yellow flag in a long time. The drivers are now finding they have to pit on the green to get the necessary fuel. There's Pearson at number 17 slowing down, allowing Goldsmith to go by for the lead. Hamilton's following him. Pearson apparently headed for the pits and a refueling stop. Here he comes down pit lane. He'll slam on the brakes and move to a stop in front of the Holman and Moody pit. Dick Hutcherson, his crew chief, a former driver, standing by to take care of his needs. We understand that they have a new type of gas can. There it is, the very long, skinny can. Most of the others are squat. What's better about these, Fred?
Well, these cans empty the fuel in about 3.5 seconds, half the time of a regular can, which takes about 7 seconds. It's something new that Holman invented recently.
Well, it's made for a very quick pit stop for David Pearson in car number 17. And that, of course, allows Paul Goldsmith, the number 99, to take the lead, and Pete Hamilton to go into second place as Pearson goes back on the track and tries to make up his lost ground. Here's Pearson picking up speed on the banking in the number 17, a blue and gold car if you're watching in color. That's Bobby Isaac right behind a number 71. And here's a tough break. Richard Petty in car 43 goes behind the pit wall, and that means he's out of it. He's had tough luck here at Charlotte, and again, Lady Luck has turned her back on him. Now Goldsmith in the number 99 makes a stop, and the Ray Nichols crew scrambles over the rail to service his car. It's going to be right side tires and gasoline. Goldsmith driving a Dodge Super B. Pete Hamilton has inherited the lead in car number 1, Dodge Charger. He's from Massachusetts, and he's a rookie on the circuit. It's his first year on the circuit. And here is Richard Petty. Well, the yellow
Charlotte Speedway beat you again, Richard. What was it today?
Another engine. We made a pit stop there, and I ran 3 or 4 laps, and I guess the bearings went out because it started tightening it up. I just cut it off.
A pretty hot pace out there, huh?
Well, they was running pretty good. We got a lap behind right at the beginning because we made a pit stop and then went back out, and about 2 laps had a caution flag. So I got a lap behind, and we was able to run and pass Pearson and Donnie Allison and got back in the same lap, so we felt like we was doing pretty good.
Well, as they say in baseball, there's always next year.
Yeah, I know, but it's long and lean this year.
The action in front of the stands here is now in the pits. The cars are all running dry at almost the same time. They all made their last pit stop during a yellow flag period, so they need to fill up just about the same time on the track. One car burns a little bit less gas than another. And there's a sign to Cale Yarborough, pushing question mark. Freddie, what do they mean?
Well, it's the same as the front end of the car plowing, drifting towards the fence, and they want to know if they want to readjust the chassis on a pit stop and make the back end swing a little bit. It really doesn't look like it to me, Chris. He's really moving up.
He certainly is. Cale Yarborough, who's won a lot of big races this year, and he's trying for another one here today in the number 21 Wood Brothers Mercury. Action down the straight here at this very fast super speedway. Speedways of 1.5 mile in length and larger are referred to in the racing fraternity as super speedways. And there's Cale Yarborough trying to go by Pete Hamilton, and Hamilton's down low. Yarborough goes high on the banking in the number 21 car and smoothly makes the pass. Here's a pit man from Donnie Allison's crew signaling the driver. They're asking him if he's tired. Remember we mentioned A.J. Foyt being out of the race. Now here he is in the Allison pit, the Banjo Matthews car. He's standing by to take over for Donnie Allison, but why, we really don't know. Allison apparently has been signaling his pit that he's in a bit of trouble. Here comes Allison in now, and he's getting out the right side of the car while A.J. Foyt climbs in the left side. This will mark the second time today that A.J. Foyt has driven a car that he's never sat in before. The car he started in the race was a strange machine, and here he is taking over a strange car from driver Donnie Allison. We're going to have to find out now just why this driver change is being made. Here comes Allison, the younger of the 2 Allison brothers in the contest today. He's holding his neck. It appears as though he's got a stiff neck. We understand that the heavy crash helmets leaning over the side sometimes induce pains in the neck, and this perhaps is what's wrong with Donnie Allison as A.J. Foyt goes back out on the track. We'll be back for more of the National 500 after this message. Action at turn 4 as Red Farmer grazes the wall and then spins down the track into the grass, wrestles the wheel to keep the car from going back out on the track. From Hueytown, Alabama, he's one of the top modified drivers in the country, and the yellow flag comes out, slowing the field down once again. Pearson the leader, Goldsmith second, and Cale Yarborough third. A tough way to finish a 500, eh, Fred?
It sure is. He was running in the top 10, one of his best showings so far, and he looked like he was moving up all the time.
A tough break for Red Farmer, who's out of it. And now with the yellow flag out, this means that the pit business will flourish once again. Here's our leader, David Pearson in the number 17 Holman and Moody Ford, Paul Goldsmith second in the Ray Nichols number 99 Dodge, and Cale Yarborough third in the number 21 Wood Brothers Mercury. There are the standings as the yellow flag cuts the speed. Now here's A.J. Foyt bringing Donnie Allison's car into the pits for the Banjo Matthews crew to do some work on it, and busy they are. Right side tires, and here's a whole passel of cars coming in. Cale Yarborough, David Pearson coming in. Cale Yarborough's coming in the pits. We talked with Cale before the race, and he had some things to say about the Wood Brothers crew. Let's listen to what Cale had to say as they do their work.
I got one of the greatest pit crews in the world, the Wood Brothers, and they do a terrific job. When something goes wrong, it seems like that they really get keyed up then, and I don't know, I guess when I'm behind, it really keys me up, and we've won almost every race this year coming from behind, and it's just something that gets going inside of you, I guess, that you just have to do it, and when you have to do something, then that makes you a winner, I guess.
Fast work by the pit crews has preserved the standings with David Pearson, the leader in car number 17. Paul Goldsmith's racing out of the pits here, number 99, will be second when he gets on the track, and Cale Yarborough already out there, but behind, lies third. The race average, 141.166 miles an hour, a track record for this distance. The leader is David Pearson, number 17, with Charlie Glotzbach second and number 6. Chrissy Konamaki here with Fred Lorenzen at the Charlotte Motor Speedway as the National 500 action starts to boil as Glotzbach in car 6 takes the lead away from David Pearson. Third place belongs to Paul Goldsmith, and Cale Yarborough is 4th. The top 4 leaders are all in the same lap. It's been an exciting speed contest right from the outset. 8 drivers have led the race. Charlie Glotzbach, Buddy Baker, the 2 Allison brothers, Butch Hartman, Pete Hamilton, Paul Goldsmith, and David Pearson. No clear-cut trend has been established yet. 4 drivers in the same lap with some 90 laps remaining in the contest. And here, Paul Goldsmith, the 3rd place driver, goes by number 27. That's Donnie Allison having taken his own car back from A.J. Foyt. He is 5th, but 1 lap behind the pack. And they're really moving. The speed is very high. Glotzbach is setting a record pace right now. There's Dave Marcis, number 30, spinning out, and another driver dives sideways and spins to miss. A close maneuver. We'll be back for more of the National 500 in just a moment. The action continues at the Charlotte Motor Speedway in the National 500, and the green flag comes out now as Charlie Glotzbach on the inside and David Pearson on the outside battle for the lead, with Pearson in the Ford edging ahead momentarily, but now Glotzbach comes back strong. A real ding-dong battle in the late stages of this 500-mile race, and the crowd eats it up as Glotzbach stretches his Dodge out now to a half-length lead over Pearson in the number 17 Ford. A great contest, high speeds all day long, 22 cars now running in the race, and there's Glotzbach going high, Freddie.
He just got it a little loose in the back. It seemed like it skidded a little bit, but he's got it back under control, Chris.
But David Pearson made hay while the sun shone there and grabbed the lead by just about a foot, but Glotzbach seems to have a lot of power and races him right back into the lead again. We're getting closer and closer to the finish, and it's a ding-dong duel now here between these 2 drivers for the number 1 position. Around the track they go, very close, a lot of money at stake. Close to $20,000 will go to the first place winner in this 500-miler today. And look at them, high on the banking, side by side, and now it's Pearson. Cale Yarborough waiting right back there in 3rd place for either one or perhaps both to make a missed cue. Now Glotzbach storms to the front. Pearson now 2nd, and now Cale starts to work on David Pearson. Yarborough in 3rd in a Mercury. Of a Dodge, a Ford, and a Mercury, and a Dodge in the top 4 positions. Paul Goldsmith back there in the number 4 spot.
It looks like David's having a little bit of trouble in the turn. His back end's swaying a little bit. It's getting worse and worse, it seems to me. He's losing a little ground.
Well, Pearson may have a little bit of trouble with that number 17 car. It's a tremendous strain on both man and machine in these 500-mile races, and perhaps the machinery is feeling the pressure. And there, he's been passed now by Paul Goldsmith, and a tough break for David Pearson. He led in the early stages and then dominated the middle segment of the race, and now he's fading backwards as Charlie Glotzbach builds a big lead, perhaps one of the biggest leads that anyone has held in this section of the going. So Glotzbach, the sophomore driver from Georgetown, Indiana, once again out front in the Cotton Owens Dodge. Paul Goldsmith right behind Cale Yarborough, and these 2 hooked up in a duel. And here's Glotzbach now making what should be his final pit stop of the race, with enough gas to go on this time to get him to the checkered flag. Here's the Cotton Owens crew. Let's clock this stop. They're 426 CI, that's the size of the engine, 426 cubic inches. And Charlie's working on that chewing gum. He seems calm, the right side tires go on, and there he goes. How fast was that, Fred?
16.5 seconds, Chris. That was a fantastic stop, really something.
A really remarkable pit stop. And here's Cale Yarborough coming in rather slowly, but he goes right through the Wood Brothers pit, clear through it. Apparently, he couldn't stop the car. Now he's accelerating back out on the track to go around one more time. And Cale Yarborough, there's the car smoking. What do you think it is, Fred?
Well, it must be a wheel cylinder. Cale must be checking those brakes again when he went down that pit road, and it must have blown some brake fluid on one of the brake drums, and that's what that smoke was caused from. So he must be out of brakes.
Well, Cale Yarborough in one of those come-from-behind drives, coming in for his last pit stop, mechanical trouble. And here's Paul Goldsmith in for his last stop. And Cale Yarborough still has to take on that fuel, and he's just creeping down pit lane now in the number 21 Wood Brothers Mercury. The crew has moved out of the pit lane and down the track, and they're going to grab the car and forcibly haul it so they can work on it. Here they are. bringing the car to a stop, and apparently he doesn't have brake one on that car. A tough break for a great competitor. Still, they're going to stay with it. I wouldn't want to be out there, Fred, with no brakes.
No, it was sure great thinking on the Woods brothers to walk up, because if you overshoot your pit one square, you've got to go all the way around again, just as previous he did the lap before. But it's definitely put Cale out of contention.
And that puts Paul Goldsmith in car 99, second behind Charlie Glotzback in the number 6 Dodge, and David Pearson up to third as Cale Yarborough, way in arrears now, pulls out of the pit lane. There's the sign. Glotzback with a 17-second lead over Goldsmith in number 99. One of the biggest leads enjoyed by any driver so far today. Here's that second place man. You can see the relationship just about a half a lap behind. So Paul Goldsmith is going to have to do some going if he intends to catch Charlie Glotzback. And now it's Pete Hamilton in trouble on the grass between the pit road and the track. And he, too, may have brake trouble, but he did a nice job in keeping that car down. He continues around. There's Cotton Owens, Glotzback's owner and crew chief, wondering now whether their luck will hold as the race draws near the checkered flag. 23 cars, 22 cars still running in this 500-mile race. 35 started. Goldsmith now puts the pressure on to try and cut the interval between he and the pace setter Charlie Glotzback in number 6. Third place is David Pearson, and only 3 cars are in the same lap. Pearson's third. Fourth place belongs to Bobby Allison, two laps back. And we'll be back for the exciting finish after this message. And now with the checkered flag virtually in sight, Charlie Glotzback, the driver who's only been on the big league circuit for 2 seasons, heads for what appears to be certain victory in his number 6 Dodge Charger. There's the sign from the pitman, the dollar sign, traditional signal to the driver that he's got it made. The car's humming along beautifully as the shadows start to fall over the Charlotte Motor Speedway. He's not slackening his pace one bit, however, in these final laps. He goes by Pete Hamilton in the number 1 car. It'll be the biggest victory of his career if he makes it, and we don't see how he can do anything but now. He can coast in, practically, and win this National 500 stock car race. The battle for the national championship between David Pearson and Bobby Isaac has helped Pearson considerably. Pearson is running third behind Paul Goldsmith. Here's the checkered flag, and everybody's giving him the dollar sign, and it's a happy moment in the Cotton Owens pits down here. Owens, who retired as a driver a half-dozen years ago to become a car owner, has not had a super speedway victory in that 6-year span, and this is the first one, and you can see everyone is happy for the old man from Spartanburg, South Carolina. They're happy to see Cotton win, and of course his young driver Glotzback, who's 30 years old and is from Georgetown, Indiana. And now we wait for Glotzback to come down and head for victory lane. The race did see a lot of interesting developments. One, for example, the use of relief drivers, which is rarely seen in late model stock car racing. The number 11 car, started by A.J. Foyt, was driven in the middle of the race by Bud Moore and finished up by Leroy Yarborough, and he brought it home, I believe, in the top 10. Then the number 27 car, which was started by Donnie Allison and later taken over by A.J. Foyt, was finished with Donnie Allison. He got up there in the money. And also Marty Robbins, the country and western singer, driving number 32, had some help from James Hilton. So it was a race where more relief drivers saw action than all season long, I believe. And here's the happy man, Charlie Glotzback, getting out of his car in victory lane, framed in roses, flashing those pearly teeth. A big day for the youngster from Hoosier Land. It'll pay him a lot of money, close to $20,000. He'll split that, of course, with his car owner. And here's the race queen, Vavita Wilson, up there to extend her congratulations. And we should have a kiss momentarily. We're going to try and step in now and get a word with Charlie.
Yeah. Charlie, congratulations. You don't even look tired.
No, Chris, the car was just working so good all day that I never had to fight it one bit.
I noticed at the start you were right there, too.
Yeah, I just went up there to be sure I could run with them if I had to, and then I backed off and took it easy, like I said I was going to do.
Was there a turning point in the race for you, Charlie?
Yes, after our last pit stop, actually, when I got a good lead in, and I didn't have to run real hard.
Who gave you the toughest time out there on the track?
Well, there was about 14 or 15 of them. They give me a tough time.
You handled it beautifully.
Well, thank you, Chris.
And they've reason to be happy. A record speed for the race, 135.324 miles an hour, nearly 5 miles an hour faster than Leroy Yarborough's 2-year-old record, and $19,380 in winnings. Paul Goldsmith in number 99 was second, David Pearson in car number 17 third, Bobby Allison in number 14 fourth, and Cale Yarborough back in fifth in number 21.
Car 21, usually a victory lane occupant, but not so today. And here's its driver, Cale Yarborough. Cale, you came awfully close. What was the real problem?
Well, Chris, on our last pit stop, just as I entered the pit road and really stood on my brakes to stop for my pit stop, my brake cylinder went out, and we had no brakes. We had to continue on around the racetrack twice to finally get stopped. So this put us out of contention. We had a real good chance of winning the race. Car was running real well, but this just put us too far back.
What was it like on the track with no brakes?
Well, it was a little hairy because when you get into traffic, you have to touch your brakes a little bit to keep from running over somebody. So I just had to slow down the last 20, 30 laps and stay out of trouble.
Well, good luck on the next one, Cale Yarborough.
Thank you, Chris.
And here's Freddie Lorenzen, our colleague. Freddie, it was quite a race. How did you think? How did you see it?
Well, Chris, I thought that I had picked a different winner at the beginning of the race, but I have to say I did talk to Charlie about 10 minutes before the race, and I asked him if he was going to run like he usually did, and he said no. He said he was just going to lead the first lap and just lay back until the final stages, and if anybody was left, come on strong, and I think he drove a real smart race.
He did, and it wound up with victory. So that's it from the National 500 at Charlotte, North Carolina. This is Chris Economaki with Fred Lorenzen saying so long from Charlotte.
The executive producer for ABC's Wide World of Sports is Roone Arledge. National 500 produced by Fred Hutchison and directed by Lester Becker. Table tennis coverage produced by Ned Steckel and directed by Andy Sedaris. Associate director in Charlotte, Jerry Chernak. Coordinating producer, Jim Spence. And don't forget, next week on ABC's Wide World of Sports, you'll be seeing the Los Angeles Times Grand Prix, the World Professional Target Diving Championship, and the World Championship Demolition Derby. Now, this is Chris Economaki reminding you to stay tuned for more of our exclusive coverage of the Olympic Games from Mexico City. Today's program was pre-recorded. Air travel arrangements for ABC's Wide World of Sports made through United Airlines, who also furnished promotional consideration.